Welcome to the debut of the Survivor Superfan YouTube channel or podcast or whatever you'd like to call it. Um, my name is Judah. I am a Survivor Superfan. I love the show to death. I hope to be on it one day. And without further ado, let's get into our Survivor Season 47 initial power rankings after Episode 1. Alright, and now we start with the first boot. John Lovett. John Lovett was somebody I was kind of low on pregame. As you can see, I had him 16th. I always, I still like John's. I feel like he would do pretty well on a return. Obviously, I doubt he would return because he was the first boot, unless they do a only first boot season, which is pretty unlikely. I had him 16th because I felt like his podcast host career would catch up to him. That's not the reason he went out first, but that's the reason I thought he was going to get initially a low placement. He got 18th because he was the older, more conniving type, and that is really not an asset to have on your team in Survivor. It's somebody that can backstab you, and it's somebody that can just not help you as well as other people that you could vote out in challenges. So, John Lovett 18th, he was the first person voted out. I had him 16th pregame, just a couple people lower, and we'll talk about those in a second. Next we have Andy. Now, if I was the majority on the yellow tribe, I would push for Andy to be out just because, especially in recent memory, Survivor wild cards are very not beneficial to one's game. Andy is going to be somebody that is going to be fighting. He reminds me of Banu almost from last season. Always on the bottom and just won't shut up about how they're going to go home. I mean, Andy was so annoying. I didn't enjoy any of his screen time at all. He was by far the most unentertaining character I've seen this season, and from a game point aspect, wasn't good there at all. Blowing your spot up at the immunity challenge is obviously not something that you should do ever. Selling out your number one ally is not something that you should do ever. Making potential allies feel uncomfortable is not something you should do ever. So in episode 1, he didn't do a single thing right, in my opinion. That's why he is dead last of the people still standing. Free game, I had him 5th, which, to be honest, seemed like a little lower than the, I guess, majority of the community. I saw, to be completely honest, I saw more people have Andy as their winner pick than not. I wasn't that high on him. I felt like I was a little low on him, even though I had him at 5th place out of 18 players. I felt like he had a great social game from all of his interviews pre-show, and it just didn't work out that way. He looks like an absolute disaster. I hope he gets voted out soon so we can get him off of our screens and hopefully get to love this new season of Survivor and the cast that it comes with. Now, on to 16th place out of 18. We got Rome. I didn't know where to put Rome. It's hard really to rank any of these players just because of how little content everybody got. They focused on Andy, obviously. They focused on John, obviously. They focused on Rome and Gabe because those were the two who were involved with advantages. So people involved with advantages are always going to get screen time. And the screen time Rome got, it just felt all negative. It felt like everybody was against him. And he was even put in an alliance just for Teeny to be like, let's just replace him with Asia. That's where Rome kind of stands, is that there's people on this cast that like him, like Genevieve is somebody that could work with Rome. But he is too much of a wild card, kind of like Andy, and I think he is going to come to a fairly early demise. Maybe not quite in 2 episodes from now, which is where this ranking technically has him. Um, but I feel like he is a pre-merger. He's playing the game way too hard. He's way too confident, and just like Omer said in season 42, don't get Survivor confident. Pre-game, I had him at ninth. He was pretty average to me, right down the middle. I thought that he was. I never had a thought that he was going to win. He was never in consideration for my winner pick pre-game. But he wasn't somebody I was particularly low on. I needed to see more, and now that I've seen more, I have him pretty low. I think he's just going to scramble. And I can see him as a type of Romeo post-merge if he even makes it that far. But I don't see any chances of winning for Rome. Next up, we have Saul. Saul isn't very high. He never was. He reminds me of Randon a lot from last season. But Randon, honestly, I feel like is a little better of a player. I feel like Randon was in a pretty decent spot going forward. I feel like he could have made a run if he really had everything. But in the spot he was at last season, it wasn't that bad. But Saul here is 15th. He was 14th per game, so not much of a change. I wouldn't necessarily say he goes down because he didn't get that much screen time. I would just say some other people moved up a little bit. These rankings over the weeks are going to change a whole lot, especially at the very beginning. But with Saul, we didn't see much strategy. I think he could be one of the later boots on his tribe, but I don't see him really being in the main majority strategy-wise. I don't see him making any decisions. I don't see him winning the game at all. But I could definitely see him making it to the merge and being like kind of the mid to early merge boot range. But I really don't see him having any sort of authority or say within his tribe or their alliance right now. It looks like the alliance is going to be Teeny, Asia, and then maybe like Genevieve, and we'll see. I don't know. I'm not super sure right now. We'll see next episode. I'm recording this pretty late into the week, so a new episode will stream tonight. I will watch it tomorrow, and I will get a video out on my new rankings pretty soon. Expect the rankings to come out more sort of after Thursday instead of right before the next episode. I just got pretty late into it. Next up is 14th place, Caroline. Caroline is the person I had dead last. I felt like she was just awkward. I felt like she had no chance of really forming an alliance with anybody, and it looked like she has formed an alliance with Sue. I'm still pretty low on her just because of how low I was on her of pregame. We didn't get much screen time from her, similar to everybody else, but it looked like she formed a bond with Sue, which was good enough to have her at 14th. I really thought she was going to be the first one out of her tribe, the first one out of the game if they lost. Really, I really was very low on Caroline, but if she can keep it with Sue and then link up with Gabe, that can be a pretty tight three that I could see going forward. I don't think Caroline is going to win this game, but I think she could make it pretty far. But a pretty big jump up. It was only 4 spots, but I consider this a pretty big jump up for from going to 18th to 14th. Just considering because I feel like she can jump up a lot more if this next week goes well for her. But that's all I got to say about Caroline. Let's go on to 13th place now. Oh, that is Kyle Oswald. Okay, that is. Alright, Keyshawn Patel. We skipped a little too far. Keyshawn, I had 13th per game. I had him 11th, so not too much movement. looks like I think he could be in with that majority alliance with Teeny in Asia and potentially Genevieve, but I think he's in there. Um, he's a likable guy. He's not gonna go out anytime soon. I feel like in a modern season of Survivor, you look more for who you want to get out instead of who you should get out. It's it's never the weakest link is the one getting voted out anymore. It's more the conniving people, the people you're worried about long term. That's who seems to get targeted. Keyshawn seems like a good alliance member. It seems like he gives off that vibe. If I was on the island with him, I'd probably be open to working with him. And it seems like a lot of people will be. So I think he, similar to Caroline, could jump up pretty far next week if we see some pretty good gameplay out of him. Um, yeah, again, not too much to talk about with Keyshawn. Not a lot to talk about with anybody. But I do like his spot in the game right now, his spot in his tribe. I think they have a pretty strong tribe, so I don't think they're going to lose a whole lot of challenges. But we'll see. I think our yellow tribe is going to be kind of the disaster tribe of the season. Like last season, we saw it with the purple tribe. They were the disaster. There's always a disaster of the season, it seems like, and I think that's going to end up being yellow. Which maybe not thinking about that, I probably should have put some of the yellows a little lower. But we'll talk about those later. Next, we got a little sneak peek earlier. We got Kyle Oswald. I was really high on Kyle coming into the game. I had him second. I just like this guy's gonna be just a likable guy. Just from his interviews, he's gonna be likable. People are gonna love him. He's gonna do well in challenges. He's gonna, in Modern Survivor. I'm just gonna assume if you're playing in Modern Survivor, you know the strategies of the game. So I'm just gonna assume that for everybody as of right now. But he fell mainly due to other people rising, and also he just didn't get any screen time, which makes me feel like maybe he's not gonna win, or maybe he's not gonna make it super far. Maybe more like a Hunter McKnight type of season for Kyle. I think he could do well. Um, but I don't know. I feel like the the he's gonna be like a sidekick to maybe Gabe, or maybe Tiana, or maybe he's gonna be on the outs. I don't see him running the show anytime soon, but I could definitely see him forming an alliance with somebody and making it pretty far into this game. I think Kyle has potential. And now we're kind of into my range where I think people could be winning. I think Kyle has a chance to win this game. I definitely feel like it's more likely with others. Obviously, that's why I have Kyle at 12th. But we'll find out tomorrow. I'm very excited for this next episode. Hopefully it's Andy that goes home. I really don't like watching him. But next on number 11, we have Genevieve. This is a bit high on Genevieve. I just think she's the type to kind of slip through the game. I'm really ranking based on vibes as of right now at this point. I think she can make it far just by like kind of slipping through. I don't really see a whole lot of winner potential. I don't think she's gonna strategize and kind of fill the wants of the jury whenever they think, because this is a season of Survivor Superfans, and Survivor Superfans respect nothing more than a good social and strategic game. Your challenge prowess does not matter. It only helps you. It only helps yourself. It doesn't help your jury threat, I promise. So, Genevieve is somebody I feel like could slip through the cracks. It looks like she might have a chance at getting in the majority of Alliance, which I think is going to be mainly ran by Teeny and Asia. It looks like they're running the majority Alliance over there. And I think Genevieve could find a crack to kind of get alongside them. I think Keyshawn's probably their third, but I think Genevieve could get in there, especially in the early game, and she'll find a way to the merge and see what happens to there from there. 15th pregame, I didn't have her very high. I didn't really know what to think about Genevieve. She kind of seemed just like another cast member, but I think that she could do pretty decent. Rachel is here 10th. I think she is the next to go after Andy. I think she could very well be a pre-merge boot if Yellow ends up being the Disaster Tribe, like I mentioned earlier, because I think the other three. Where I stand right now, it's hard to tell the lines with Yellow, because everybody wanted John out except for Andy. But I think Rachel would be the fourth one on the pecking order after Andy. I was pretty high on her pre-merge or pregame. I liked her. I had her 8th out of 18. It just seems like she was smart and has a good feel of the game, which I think she does. I got that from episode 1 as well. Like, she wasn't doing anything wrong. She might not be in the best spot, but let's hope Yellow can start winning some challenges and she can make it pretty far. I do think Rachel has a chance of winning if Yellow can keep winning challenges. Or not keep winning, but start winning challenges and hopefully win them pretty consistently. And Rachel can kind of squeak through the pre-merge and then go to the merge. And I think she has a chance of making it pretty far if she can get to the merge. Let's go to 9th. I have Teeny. Teeny looks like she's in a really good spot right now. She looks like she's really tight with Asia, and I think that will maintain that way for a long time. I think her and Asia will be pretty tight all game. But I just feel like, I don't know, there's just a vibe that's telling me she's going to be targeted pretty early. Maybe, I don't think she gets targeted pre-merge. I think she will get to the merge, or she will be a tribe swap victim, which something's telling me there will be a tribe swap this season. And I think that she's going to be taken out pretty much there. I think she's probably going to be like a Tevin level threat where people are going to look at her and be like, this is somebody that we need to get out now, because they will charm the jury, and if they get to the end, they will win $1 million, which I think is true with Teeny. I don't think she's as charming as Tevin was, because Tevin was just another level of social player. But I think Teeny is definitely up there. I think she has a great social game. She can make it far, but I think her threat level is going to be too high, because everybody knows nowadays if you want to win, be a good social player. I had her 13th, not very high. Just thought she was going to be on the outs. Didn't think she was going to click with her tribe. Looks like she's got a great alliance member in Asia, and I think those two will maintain tight and loyal. So I bumped her up a little bit. I think she can bump up more, but I don't get winning vibes right now. TK Foster, him and Teeny are pretty close. I can almost flip them two, but I like TK here. He seems like a no BS type of guy. I mean, we saw with I don't know what to call it, the replacement for the Sweat versus Savvy challenge, where you get your tribe supplies. I don't know what they're calling that, like the journey. I don't think they're calling it the journey. But we saw he was able to like forge his own path, as Asia would say. But he took the words out of Asia's mouth and literally just ran right through the jungle, straight to the key. He grabbed that thing from Asia. He said, "Not today. You're not taking the key out of my hands." And he said, "This is my tribe equipment. It's for me." And I like that. He's playing the game for himself. When he saw Gabe messing with the rings and the vines, he was very skeptical. And I thought Gabe came up with a pretty good excuse, but TK was still skeptical, as you should be. I don't think he's done anything wrong, so I'm going to keep him here in kind of the average, kind of the post-merge boot area. I think he could go up. I think he could go down, but right now I'm going to have him sort of in the middle. I don't think he's doing anything wrong, but I don't necessarily necessarily seeing him doing a ton of stuff right now, but that's also because we got a lot of focus on a couple people. I think TK could do pretty average, to be honest. I don't really see him winning. Um, but only time will tell. Let's move on to seventh place. We have Annika Dar. Now, she was my second worst coming in. I thought she was going to be the first out of yellow. But it seems like she's kind of implemented herself pretty well into her tribe. It seems like she's, got pretty tight alliance with Sam, Sierra, and Rachel. I think those four are going to be the four going forward. Four going forward. I don't think Andy's going to do anything. I don't think he's going to find a crack to get in there. And I think Annika can make it pretty far. I can also see her crashing out and burning pretty early. So I think she has a pretty wide margin right now, in my opinion, on where she could place. I think she could go pretty high. Like right now, I have her seventh, and I think she could, in all honesty, go out next episode if things go that way. I think there's a possibility of that. She seems to be trying to throw all the punches or like lead the charge in yellow. It looked like she was the one who initially threw John's name out there and kind of wanted John out over Andy, which I don't think was the right move. I think eliminating the crazy wild cards sooner than later is definitely the move. But I understand where you're coming from when wanting to get John out over Andy. But Annika, somebody I have seventh. I was really low on her. I can see her dropping pretty far if that's how the episode goes. I don't think she's going to get much higher than this, but this is about as high on Annika as I think I'm going to get, but only time will tell. Let's go into number 6. I have Gabe. I wasn't super high on Gabe, and I still am not. He's kind of like Annika, where I feel like he could drop pretty far. He plays very hard, and that's something that will get noticed and will draw a target on his back, I'm pretty sure. But it looks like he's already got a really tight number 2 with Sue, and Sue's already got Caroline, so that's a good 3 if they can work that out. And that's already half the alliance, or half their tribe. So they get one more, which I think Kyle would be a good number to go after. You could probably get rid of TK or Tiana if Tribal Council comes and keep your numbers. And I think those will be a good 4 throughout the pre-merge. And take it to the merge or the tribe swap, whichever one comes. He was one of the people messing with the advantage. People weren't as skeptical as him as Rome. They still were like, what's that loud noise when he dropped the box in the woods or the forest or the jungle or whatever you want to call it. I feel like they're probably on to Gabe, knowing that he is a hard player. I like Gabe. I like Blue Tribe a lot. I really think Blue Tribe is going to be the dominant tribal immunities. I don't think they're going to lose. They might go to one tribal council pre-merge at the most, where I would see probably like TK. I think TK could get voted out if they go later down the merge. But I like Gabe making it pretty far. He has the idol for the next 3 tribals because he stopped at that one, which, if they do notice him overplaying, could get him out of some trouble if he uses it correctly. So I think with all that, he could make it far. But I could see a target getting on his back pretty early, which might not be ideal. Might not. But definitely is not ideal in the game of Survivor. You do not want the target early. We're staying on Blue, going straight to his alliance member, Sue. I had her 6th pregame because I never thought she was going to win. I still don't think she can win. But from all the interviews, everybody's pointing out the older lady and how they want to work with her. Everybody wanted to work with Sue if you watched all the interviews. Sue was very popular, and she still is. she already has two people coming to her wanting to work with her, and Caroline and Gabe. Um, Sue's going to make it far. She's going to be a late merger, probably a Julie Alley type finish. I don't think she wins, and I don't think she controls the game a whole lot. But I do see her in the numbers for pretty much the whole game, and I do see her making it far. Um, I see probably like anywhere from sixth place to like third place finish. Probably, I don't think she's gonna make the final three because people are gonna look at her as kind of like they looked at Julie Alley as like the motherly, like everybody's gonna vote for her type threat. Um, we're like, oh, everybody loves her so much they're just gonna vote for her, which I don't think is true. I don't think if Julie Alley got to the end against Dee or Austin, she wins. To be honest, I really don't. Um, Same with Sue. I think Sue is very similar to Julie Alley, and but I do think she will make it probably as far as Julie Alley. So we'll go next to fourth place. I have Tiana. Um, Tiana is pretty high right now just because of how high I had her pregame. She didn't really get a ton of looks, but nothing negative went her way in episode one, which is why I didn't want to drop her too far. So she's staying here at fourth. I really don't have anything to say about Tiana, but I do like her as a social player. I think she can be pretty strong. People, um, they everybody thought she was pretty similar to Dee from Survivor 45, but I don't really see it that much. I think she's her own player, and I think she could go really far and build great connections, and I think she's got a strong shot at winning. I really want to see more. If I don't see a whole lot more, she'll probably drop. Um, but I think Tiana Hallums has a really good chance of winning and a really good chance of making it far and being a fan favorite on the show. Next up, we'll go to our top three. I have Sierra Wright. Sierra, I don't think is going to be a target at all pre-merge, especially within her tribe. I think Annika, I think Andy, and I think Rachel all go before her and Sam, who we will talk about in a second. I had her third out of 18, and I had pregame. I had her fourth, so I was really high on her. Pregame, I thought that she was going to build an alliance with Sam after knowing their tribal lines, and it looks like I was pretty right. It looks like Sierra and Sam, I think, could stick together for a long time, and hopefully that's true. Sierra, I had third place. Not much to say. She was in the majority in the vote already, so that's a positive sign. I think Yellow's going to be a disaster, and Rachel and Annika could possibly be eliminated pre-merge. And Andy. But there's a silver lining there. Usually, whoever makes it out of the disaster tribe makes it pretty far, except for like Survivor 45 when they got rid of Emily pretty quick. But they got rid of Emily and Caleb because those were like the two biggest threats in the game, which were pretty true. If Emily and Caleb get to the end, they dominate. As we saw Purple from season 44, Carson, Jam Jam, Carolyn, they filled up three out of the final four spots was from that alliance, and that was definitely the disaster alliance of the season in terms of losing. And even after Carson was swapped over to Orange and they got Josh, they even kept losing. So, and they did very well in the game. So I think Yellow is in for a late run in the game. I think Sam and Sierra can make it very far, especially, and then maybe like a Rachel or maybe like an Annika can make it pretty far as well. But let's go to 2. Sam Phelan. Talked about him a little bit. I was very high on pregame. He was my winner pick, and I could still see him winning the game. I hope he does, because then my pregame winner pick would be correct. That'll be like the first time ever. I'm pretty sure that my pregame winner pick was right. I don't really remember. Right now I have him 2, not for anything that he did, but because the number 1 player I think is just in a great spot right now. Sam Balin is somebody I feel like is going to cruise through the pre-merge. He's not going to have any votes. He's not going to have any problem being on top in the pre-merge. As long as these are the tribal lines and there's no tribe swap, he is the top dog. He is going to control who gets voted out if he wants. He is going to help them win challenges if he wants. Obviously, he could just sell the challenge and screw his old tribe over. He's not going to do that. But I like Sam Phelan here as a very high finisher. I think he could get first. I think he could potentially be the final boss, like a Maria was the final boss, or Jesse was the final boss, or Carson was the final boss. There's always a final boss this season. I think that could be Sam, or he could be the winner. First place, I have Asia Welch. She was seventh place before, pretty average. Didn't have like winner hopes for her pre-merge, but I did have like definitely merge hope. But after seeing one episode, she seems like the Kinsey or the big social player this season. I think she is going to charm everybody. Nobody's going to target her. She's going to make it. She's going to be the top dog on the red team. I'm pretty sure that's a fact. She is going to be probably the leader of her alliance. Her and Teeny it looks like, are going to make most of the decisions. And I think Asia has a really good chance of winning. She's in such a great spot in her alliance right now. Such a great spot in her tribe. I think Rome is easily the first person to go. I think Genevieve would go after her, or after Rome. I think Saul would probably go after Genevieve right now. But I think Genevieve has more upside in the game than Saul does. I think Asia basically can control any way she wants. It looks like Teeny's going to do whatever to keep Asia around. So those two are going to be super tight, and I see that being a thing and going very far. I think Asia is going to win after one episode. She just looks like she's in the best spot with the best social game, and Modern Survivor social game is what wins it. So those were these episode 1 Survivor 47 rankings. We'll do an episode 2 and an episode 3 and an episode 4 and an episode 5 and every episode in the upcoming weeks. This was just the first, and we're out.